Welcome to the episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Today we've got here a couple of electric motorcycles. You know, at first glance, they don't look electric. They look like regular motorcycles, which I think is a huge step forward. Fast, efficient. You might remember a couple of years ago, we had a bike called the Inertia, the Brammo bike. Here it is. Take a look at that. I mean, all the weight seems to be down fairly low. Doesn't feel top heavy at all. The cool thing about this bike is if you live in an apartment or a condo, you can put it in your living room or carry it upstairs and just plug it in every day. Well, Brammo is back with, I guess I'd call them real motorcycles this time. Let's talk to Craig Brancher. Craig, come on in here. You're the president of this deal.
Hi, Jay. Yes.
Tell us what we have. Let's get on this side so people can see.
Sure.
Between you and me, no offense, I think we pretty much block out the entire bike.
This is really one of the first, as you mentioned, real production electric motorcycles that has level 2 charging, so it takes advantage of the infrastructure that you know, the Chevy Volt and the Nissan Leaf,
right,
but ends up being fast charging for us.
It's the universal plug.
Right, exactly. And then this one goes 100 miles an hour. It actually goes a little faster than that.
And the coolest thing, and this is something I've been waiting for in electric vehicles for a long time, you have a real transmission.
We do. We ended up realizing that part of being a motorcycle is shifting.
Right.
And the feeling of a little bit more control over the bike.
Well, it always seemed to me, maybe it's something in my mind, but electric engines have such torque. It seems, why should you make the engine work faster than it needs to? But up until now, there's never been a transmission that could take the torque of an electric motor. When Tesla first came out with that first generation Tesla, it had a 2-speed box. And
right.
I remember I drove it and I shifted it, and it went out on me because it was just, the transmission couldn't take the torque. Whereas this, now you've developed an actual 6-speed. It's not a 2-speed or even a 3-speed.
Right.
You've got 6 speeds. So I imagine you can keep this motor pretty much at peak efficiency, especially with, how much torque does this have?
Yeah, these have more torque per horsepower, obviously, than a gas motor. So this one's at about 54 to 55 horsepower and about 70 foot-pounds of torque.
Okay, that's pretty good, but it's torque from zero.
Right.
That's the difference. You know, most people think you've got to rev up most engines to get any power out of this. You've got full power from 0 RPM. As soon as you crank that, boom, you go.
Absolutely, and a lot of the work that we've done, the software that controls that actually makes the electric motor easier to work with, so you don't just flip the bike over.
Right, right. Well, electric motorcycles have come on so fast in the last couple of years. They do the electric Isle of Man bike race. Right. And I remember a couple of years ago, it was like trying to get the first electric bike to break 100 miles per hour. That seemed like a huge deal. Well, that's been broken, correct?
Right,
yeah.
right, exactly.
And so now it's not on par with the gas bikes just yet, but it's getting there. Tell us some more of the features. These are what, lithium-ion batteries?
Right, yeah, so these batteries were actually designed by Brammo. We were working with most of the major battery guys, and they were great for automotive, but they weren't really good for a lightweight vehicle like this. So we ended up developing our own. And that made the big difference for us, both in terms of getting the cost within range and then also getting to that 100 miles an hour and 100-mile range, which for us was the moonshot 3 years ago, right?
So these are air-cooled batteries?
The batteries are air-cooled, but the motor and the motor controller are liquid-cooled. So there's a radiator on here just like a gas bike. Oh,
okay. So the engine, obviously electric engine makes a lot of heat.
It does,
so,
it does.
Okay, but most up to this, this is the first time, I've heard of liquid-cooled batteries, but this is the first liquid-cooled powertrain I've heard of.
On a motorcycle, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, why did you choose chain rather than belt drive? Most electric bikes seem to prefer the belt drive.
Yeah, you know, part of it is, you know, we wanted easy maintenance. We didn't want to have a complex rear swing arm. We're trying very hard to put all the money in the drivetrain.
Right, gotcha.
You know, so, but we do have Marzocchi forks and Brembo brakes and all the high-end components on it.
Explain this rear hub. It looks, if I was guessing, I would think, oh, is there a motor in that hub? But it's not.
Yeah, no, it's actually a cush drive because you do have instant impact from the electric motor, so you don't want it to feel so jolty, so that helps.
And explain to people what a cush drive is. Is it rubber? Is that
yeah, there's actually a polymer in there that's between the hub and where the gear attaches, so it gives a little shock absorbing.
Yeah, what that means is when you violently open the throttle. It's not metal to metal.
Exactly.
The rubber just sort of takes up some of the, it's a bit like, if you took a big piece of rubber and twisted it, that's pretty much what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
What else we got? How much does this bike go for?
This one, we have 3 models of this. The base is $16,995, but we just got approval from the federal government for a 10% tax credit.
Okay.
And then we have an $18,995, which has a little bit more performance in carbon fiber, the R.
Right.
And then we are releasing a limited edition TTX race bike that will be quite a bit faster, a little bit more performance oriented, and you can pull the lights off and race it.
And being electric, I know I don't have to ask this question, but people ask me, there's no, if it goes down, there's no chance of, well, you would be electrocuted, but a shock or anything of that nature, right? It's
Right,
all-
yeah, so we've actually gone through the process on the batteries of having them UN certified, so that they can, be shipped in a Boeing or something,
Right.
I guess, but, so we've done everything we can to make sure there's safety there. So we actually have systems on board that if anything goes wrong, it turns off all the batteries.
I see. Does this have a fuse box or a circuit breaker in it?
Actually, each one of the batteries
Okay.
has its own, and then there's another system.
Is it possible
double
for
system.
one cell, one battery to go bad? And you can bypass it? Is
Yep, actually our system, keeps track of all that, so it will notify you if there's one,
Right.
and then essentially you take it into the dealer and they swap it out in warranty.
Now we have a tachometer here, and like a gas bike, it seems to be redlined about $6,000 or $7,000. What is this measuring? The transmission spinning or the electric engine?
That's
spinning?
actually the motor's RPM itself. So ironically, like a rev limiter, once you get past the peak efficiency,
Right.
you start losing power. The
Right.
motor will keep revving,
Right.
but and you won't throw a valve, obviously.
gotcha.
But the power goes away, so you shift.
Right.
We also alert you with lights when it's time to shift.
Right.
Just because it's hard to get used to the sound difference
Right.
between a traditional motor.
I mean, it carries its weight low. It doesn't feel heavy.
Now, most people, as I mentioned, if you ride it, they come back and they say, wow, that's a great handling bike. So like Eric Bostrom, who helped us develop the ride of the race bike,
Well, sure, he's a famous guy, isn't he?
yeah, he was blown away. And
Yeah.
so he's like, this could be one of the best handling bikes, regardless of whether it has gas or electric.
I think it's time to take it for a ride. All right, let's take it for a ride, put our key in. What do I do here, Craig? Let's see, turn it on. Okay, what do I do now? Oh, hold the clutch in.
Hold it for 2 seconds. Yeah, once it stands up, you're hot.
Okay, now we're ready to go? Cool, all right, I'll put my helmet on and we'll go. A very odd sensation, making no noise at all. But I love having a transmission. It's so weird when you stop. I mean, there's no noise at all. But power-wise, plenty of power, plenty of torque. Maybe we'll go on the freeway. You know, every time we take an electric bike out, we go on a kind of a short route up through the hills here. But the biggest problem I found with electric bikes is they always top out at 60 or 65 on the freeway. Let's see how this one does. We'll get on the 5 freeway and see how it goes. Okay, I'm now in top gear. I'm in 6th gear doing about 73 miles an hour. And unlike a lot of electric vehicles, the engine's not screaming now because it only has 1 speed. It's kind of loafing. I'm turning about 4,500 RPM. Very smooth, very quiet. Obviously no noise at all. When I want to pass, just downshift. You know, kind of the fun thing about electric vehicles is with the regen, you barely ever touch the brakes. You just roll off the throttle a little bit and you put electricity back in. You can feel a little backlash from the chain, but not much. Very smooth, obviously. Takes you a while to get used to the power band, but it's not unusual. She'll do it on this 100 miles an hour. That's pretty good. Kind of fun to go sailing past the gas station and see that $5 a gallon sign. At least here in California, not have to worry about it. And it looks like a conventional motorcycle, which either works for you or against you, depending on how you feel about such things. The really outstanding feature of this motorcycle is, of course, that transmission. Should do 100, takes you a little longer to get there, but kind of like trying to reach 150 on a 1000cc bike. But yeah, it's real smooth, it drives very nicely. I have to admit, this seat kind of forces you into this permanent wedgie position a little bit, because you can't move, like for me, my legs, sometimes I like to move, you can't move back on the bike here. You'd have to slide all the way up here. I suppose I could. But, I mean, you know, the nice thing is it's the first electric, I would feel, well, the Mission went good too, but you can actually use it on the freeway.
Right.
It's not, and I love the transmission. I love the fact that I don't feel like I'm wasting torque, you know, I'm multiplying, you know. You can put it up into 6th gear, drop the revs a little bit, and feel the engine not working as hard. So I feel like I'm being more efficient.
Right.
Whether I am or not, I don't know, but it certainly feels like it. But it's a real motorcycle, and it's a lot of fun. Handles nicely, plenty of power, so good job, Craig. Thanks
Awesome.
a lot.
Thank you.
If
Appreciate
you want to know more, go to the website and check it out. Cool.